Hello, I am Stella George from IELTS Resource Center Tutorial. In this podcast, we will dive into the essentials of the IELTS Grammar, giving you the foundational insights of all you need to get started. Stay tuned, there's a lot to learn ahead.
All right, grammar fans, buckle up, because today we're going deep on IELTS Grammar.
Ooh, IELTS Grammar.
Yeah.
Now there's a topic that gets everyone excited.
Okay, maybe not everyone, but trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds. We're talking about the grammar skills that can seriously make or break your IELTS score.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people think IELTS Grammar is just about memorizing a bunch of rules.
Right, like some dusty old textbook.
Yeah, but the real magic happens when you see grammar as a tool. Not just rules, but a tool for powerful communication. And that's what really matters in the IELTS, being able to express yourself clearly and effectively.
So we're not just going to be drilling you on grammar rules today.
No way. We're going to be looking at your sources on IELTS Grammar.
Pulling out the most important points.
And finding ways to actually use them to boost your score.
Now, our source material dives right into how grammar impacts each section of the IELTS.
And it's pretty obvious for writing and speaking, right?
Oh, yeah. The examiners are practically judging every comma you use.
True, but those are the sections where grammar is directly assessed.
But here's the thing. I bet grammar is sneakily important in listening and reading, too.
You're absolutely right. Think about it. If you're struggling to understand complex sentences in the reading test...
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time finding the right answers.
Exactly. Strong grammar helps you make sense of those long, complicated passages.
It's like having a map to navigate through the language.
I like that analogy. So grammar isn't just about writing perfect essays. It's about understanding everything you read and hear in the IELTS.
Now, the source breaks down IELTS grammar mastery into two key aspects: range and accuracy.
Range and accuracy, what do those even mean, and why are they so important?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you're a chef.
Okay, I'm a chef. What's next?
You've got your basic ingredients right. Flour, sugar, salt.
These essentials.
But a great chef doesn't just use basic ingredients. They use a range of flavors and techniques to create something amazing.
Ah, I see. So in IELTS, accuracy is like knowing your basic grammar rules.
Right. You need to know how to use the basic ingredients.
And range is being able to use a variety of sentence structures and grammatical features.
To make your language more sophisticated and interesting.
Exactly. It's like using spices and sauces to add depth and complexity to your dish.
Okay, I'm hungry now, but I get the analogy. So to master IELTS grammar, you need both accuracy and range.
You got it. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual grammar rules that are tested in the IELTS.
Our source lists a whole bunch of them. Sentence structures, verb tenses, subject-verb agreement articles, prepositions, conditionals.
Oh my goodness.
Passive voice relative clauses, and even punctuation.
It sounds a bit overwhelming, right?
It's like a greatest hits compilation of English grammar.
But don't worry, we'll break it down step by step.
And remember, these aren't just abstract concepts.
Right. These are the tools that will help you express yourself clearly and confidently in the IELTS.
So let's start with sentence structures. We've got our simple sentences, compound sentences.
And then the big kahuna complex sentences.
I'm guessing those complex sentences are where the real magic happens.
Well, they can be very effective. Simple sentences are great for stating facts.
Like, the sky is blue.
Exactly. But complex sentences allow you to express more complex ideas, relationships between different things.
Okay, so how do I actually use these different sentence structures in the IELTS?
Well, let's say you're in the speaking test and they ask you about your hobbies. You could say, I enjoy playing video games.
That's a simple sentence. Straightforward.
But you could make it more interesting with a compound sentence. I enjoy playing video games and I find them to be a great way to relax.
Ooh, I like that. It's still clear, but more engaging.
And if you want to go all out, you could use a complex sentence. Although some people might consider video games a waste of time, I find them to be a stimulating hobby that allows me to explore new worlds.
Wow, that sounds impressive.
It shows you can handle more complex grammar structures while also expressing a nuanced opinion.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of sentence structures. Let's move on to verb tenses. The source emphasizes a few that are really common in the IELTS: present simple, present perfect past simple, and future simple.
Right. Those are the heavy hitters.
So how do I know which tense to use when?
Well, think about what you're trying to say. Are you describing a past event?
Like, I went to the park yesterday?
Past simple. Or are you talking about your current habits?
Like, I usually wake up early.
Present simple. Or maybe you're expressing your plans for the future.
Like, I'm going to study abroad next year.
Future simple. It's all about choosing the tense that accurately reflects the time frame you're talking about.
It's like having a time machine at my fingertips. Okay, on to subject-verb agreement. This one seems pretty basic,
It is a fundamental rule.
but I know it can be tricky sometimes.
You'd be surprised how many people make mistakes with this, even native speakers.
So remind me, how does this work again?
It's all about making sure your verbs match their subjects in number.
So if I say, I am going to the store, I wouldn't say, he am going to the store.
Right. That sounds totally wrong.
But it's easy to slip up, especially when you're nervous in the exam.
That's why practice is so important. Train your ear to catch those little errors.
Okay, next up, articles. A and then a hand. These little words can cause a lot of confusion.
Especially for people whose first language doesn't have articles.
So what's the secret to mastering articles?
Think of them like signposts. They guide the listener or reader.
A or N means we're talking about something general.
And the means we're talking about something specific.
So if I say, I saw a cat in the garden, it could be any cat.
But if you say, I saw the cat in the garden, we both know exactly which cat you're talking about.
Right, like my neighbor's fluffy cat who always sleeps in my flower bed. All right, on to prepositions. Those words that connect everything together.
Like on, in, at, to, from, they can be tricky.
Yeah, I remember struggling with these when I first started learning English.
The key is to focus on how they function in English, not just trying to translate them directly from your native language.
So for example, you could say, I'm interested in learning about different cultures.
Right. The preposition in shows the area of interest.
Or, I'm from a small town in the mountains.
The preposition from tells us your place of origin.
It's amazing how prepositions add so much detail and precision to our language.
They're like the glue that holds everything together.
Okay, now on to something that always makes me nervous.
Conditionals.
Conditionals. What's so scary about them?
Those if-then statements, I always get confused about which tenses to use.
Don't worry, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Conditionals can be tricky.
But the source material focuses on the first conditional, which is used to talk about likely or possible future outcomes.
Right, so it would be something like, if I practice every day, I will improve my grammar skills.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. The if part uses the present simple.
And the main clause uses the future simple to show what's likely to happen in the future.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the passive voice? I've heard a lot of people say it's bad to use the passive voice.
Well, the passive voice gets a bad rap, I think.
Yeah, people say it makes your writing sound stuffy.
But used strategically, it can be very effective.
Yeah.
Especially in academic writing.
The source gives the example. The research was conducted by a team of scientists. Right. Here, the focus is on the research itself, not the scientists who did it.
So the passive voice is useful when you want to emphasize the action of the result, not the person doing the action.
Exactly. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value of the passive voice. Now let's talk about relative clauses. These are the ones that give us extra information about a noun, right?
Right, they're like little pockets of detail. They add depth and richness to your sentences.
The source gives the example. The movie that I watched last night was really interesting.
The relative clause that I watched last night tells us which specific movie you're talking about.
So I could say, the city, which is known for its beautiful beaches, attracts tourists from all over the world.
Exactly. The relative clause adds that extra layer of information about the city.
It's like painting a more vivid picture for the reader.
And using relative clauses shows you can handle more complex sentence structures, which can definitely boost your grammar score.
All right, last but not least, punctuation. I know it might seem basic, but I've definitely lost points on essays because of misplaced commas.
Punctuation is so important. It's like the traffic signals of your writing.
It guides the reader and makes sure your meaning is clear.
A missing comma or a misplaced apostrophe can completely change the meaning of a sentence.
The source has a funny example, let's eat grandma, versus let's eat grandma.
Oh no, that comma makes all the difference.
It's a hilarious example, but it shows how important punctuation is.
It's not just about being tidy, it's about communicating your message accurately.
So pay attention to those commas, periods, and apostrophes. They can be your best friends in the IELTS.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, explored all these crucial grammar rules.
But how do we actually master them? How do we go from understanding the rules to using them flawlessly in the exam?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's what we'll tackle in the next part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've laid out all the grammar rules, like a battlefield.
A grammar battlefield.
But how do you actually win this thing?
Right, knowing the rules is one thing, but using them under pressure in the IELTS exam,
That's a whole other challenge.
So how do we go from grammar newbies to grammar ninjas?
Well, luckily, our source material has some answers.
Ooh, lay it on me.
It gives us 5 powerful tips for achieving IELTS grammar mastery. Think of these as your secret weapons.
Okay, I'm ready to be armed and dangerous. Hit me with those tips.
All right, tip number 1, practice writing with feedback.
Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward. Practice makes perfect, right?
But it's not just about mindless practice. You need feedback.
So I can't just write a bunch of essays and hope for the best?
Nope. You need someone to point out your mistakes and help you correct them.
So like a grammar coach.
Exactly. And ideally, someone who knows the IELTS really well, someone who can give you feedback that's specific to the exam.
Okay, that makes sense. Targeted feedback.
Got it.
Got it. What's tip number 2?
Tip number 2, use authentic resources.
Authentic resources? What does that even mean?
It means immersing yourself in real-world English books, articles, podcasts.
Even movies and TV shows.
Exactly. Think of it as training your ear to recognize correct grammar patterns.
So instead of just studying grammar rules in a textbook, I should be listening to how native speakers actually use the language.
You got it. It's like learning by osmosis. You absorb the grammar naturally.
And it's way more fun than staring at a textbook all day. All right, tip number 3.
Tip number 3, speak regularly.
Okay, this one seems pretty obvious. The more you speak, the better you get.
Right. But it's amazing how many people neglect this. They focus so much on reading and writing that they forget to actually speak.
And speaking is a huge part of the IELTS.
Exactly. So find opportunities to practice speaking English as much as possible.
Even if it's just talking to myself in the mirror. Okay, bring on tip number 4.
Tip number 4, revise grammar rules.
Revise grammar rules. Now that sounds a bit boring.
I know, but trust me, it's important.
But haven't we already covered all the rules? Why do we need to revise them?
Because sometimes you think you know something, but then you realize you've forgotten it or you're not quite sure how to use it.
So it's like refreshing our memory.
Exactly, and it helps to reinforce the rules so they really stick in your brain.
Okay, I'm convinced. Revise those grammar rules. What's the final tip?
Tip number 5, listen to native speakers.
This sounds similar to using authentic resources.
It is similar, but it's specifically about listening, training your ear to recognize correct grammar and pronunciation.
So I should be listening to podcasts, watching English language movies, that kind of thing.
Exactly. The more you listen to native speakers, the more you'll internalize the nuances of the language.
It's like my brain is secretly absorbing all the grammar rules without me even realizing it.
That's the power of immersion.
Okay, so we've got our 5 tips. Practice writing with feedback, use authentic resources, speak regularly, revise those grammar rules, and listen to native speakers.
It's like our 5-step plan for IELTS grammar domination.
I like the sound of that. But if you had to pick one tip that's absolutely crucial.
That's a tough one. They're all important.
But if you had to choose just one.
I'd say revise grammar rules.
Really? Why that one?
Because the IELTS tests you on a specific range of grammar, and you need to make sure you have a solid grasp of those rules.
So I should find a good grammar resource that focuses specifically on IELTS grammar.
Exactly. And make sure you're regularly revising those rules.
Okay, revise. Got it. Now the source material also has a section on common grammar errors.
Ooh, this is interesting. We can learn from other people's mistakes.
It's like watching a grammar train wreck in slow motion.
But in a good way. We can see what not to do.
Okay, I'm ready to play grammar detective. Hit me with the first example.
All right, here's a sentence from a Writing Task 2 essay. Many people believe that technology has made our lives easier.
Has make. That doesn't sound quite right.
What's wrong with it?
Okay, I see it. They use has make instead of has made. It's a simple subject-verb agreement error. But yeah, those can really hurt your score.
Exactly. And it's so easy to make those little slips under pressure. That's why practice is key. All right, let's look at another example. This one's from a speaking test. I have been to London last year. Do you hear the mistake?
Ooh. I have been to London last year. I feel like something's off, but I'm not quite sure what.
Well, they used the present perfect have been.
Right.
Then they talked about a specific time in the past last year.
Ah, I see it now. You can't use the present perfect with a specific past time. So they should have used the past simple went instead.
You got it. It's a really common mistake to mix up the present perfect and past simple. Remember, the present perfect is for experiences that connect to the present. Like, I've been to London, meaning I've had that experience at some point in my life.
Right. But But if you're talking about a specific time in the past,
Then it's past simple all the way.
okay, I'm going to try to remember that. Can we see the corrected versions of these sentences? I bet they sound way better now.
Absolutely. So the first sentence becomes, many people believe that technology has made our lives easier. And the second sentence is, I went to London last year. See?
Much better. They sound so much clearer and more natural. It's like those sentences can finally breathe.
I like that. So the takeaway here is to be aware of these common errors and practice.
Until those correct grammar patterns become second nature.
Right. And that's where having a good grammar resource can be super helpful. It can guide you and give you that extra confidence.
Speaking of resources, our listeners might be wondering, where can I find the right tools to really conquer IELTS grammar?
Well, you're in luck, because this deep dive is actually brought to you by Stell George Wisdom Keys.
Stell George Wisdom Keys.
She's the wife of Mr. George, who happens to be the co-owner of IELTS Resource Center.
IELTS Resource Center. Now that sounds promising.
It's an online coaching platform that can take your IELTS preparation to a whole new level.
It's like having a personal grammar guru in your pocket.
And what's really cool about IELTS Resource Center is that it's not just about grammar.
Right? It covers all aspects of the IELTS.
Reading, listening, writing, speaking, the whole shebang.
So it's like having a team of experts guiding you every step of the way.
Exactly. And they offer personalized feedback on your writing and speaking, so you can really pinpoint your weaknesses and improve.
It sounds like the perfect solution for anyone who's feeling overwhelmed by the IELTS, especially the grammar part.
Absolutely. If you're serious about acing the IELTS, and you want that extra support and guidance,
then subscribing to IELTS Resource Center is definitely the way to go. It's an investment in your future. Because strong grammar isn't just about passing a test.
Right. It's about being able to communicate effectively in English, which can open so many doors in your life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So there you have it, folks. If you're ready to take your IELTS grammar to the next level and unlock your full potential in English, head over to IELTS Resource Center and see how they can help you achieve your dreams.
Remember, with the right resources and a little bit of effort, you can conquer IELTS grammar.
And open up a world of opportunities.
So keep learning, keep practicing, and keep aiming for that high score.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into IELTS grammar. We hope you found it helpful, insightful, and maybe even a little bit entertaining. Until next time, keep those grammar skills sharp.
Achieve your IELTS goals with Mr. George. Get ready for IELTS success with personalized guidance from Mr. George Expert Coaching at IELTS Resource Center. With years of experience and passion for teaching, they provide tailored strategies, practical exercises, and real-time feedback to help you reach your target band score. Subscribe now to access exclusive materials, personalized coaching, and flexible online sessions that fit within your schedule. This is your chance to learn from the best and confidently for every session of the IELTS exam. For more information, call or WhatsApp us at 09052964864 or 07083458307.